Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2388. And revving it up, that's what we're doing this week. We're celebrating the Rennsport Reunion 7. It takes place September 28th through October 1st at the beautiful Laguna Seca Raceway, celebrating the 75th anniversary of Porsche and the 60th anniversary of the iconic Porsche 911. And speaking of icons, well, today's guest is just that. Buckle up and be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in an unusual place today with a iconic car guy. I'm in Jamaica with Brian Redman. He's taken some time out of a very special day in his life to share some things about upcoming Rennsport Reunion with all of us. Brian, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear? And are you ready to release the clutch?
Okay, Mark. Nice to be here.
Well, thank you so much. Now, I typically ask guests to share one little thing that most people don't know about them, but I want to touch on this because I found out that you and I share a special date in our lives. September 8th is our wedding anniversaries, and a typical Brian Redman on the track. You're many laps ahead of me, my friend. You and your lovely wife, Marion, just celebrated year number 61. Do I have that right?
That is correct. Unbelievable.
Wow, very cool. Well, Jill and I are at 39, so we got a lot of laps to go to keep up with you two. But I want to wish you both a very happy wedding anniversary. Quite special when you get to spend so much of your life with somebody so special. And I always say, women that put up with this car, guys, they are quite special, right?
Yes, well, when I speak to Porsche clubs or Ferrari clubs and ask for questions, always, somebody say, Mr. Redman, what's your greatest achievement in racing? And I say, my greatest achievement in racing is staying married to the same woman.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, we share that in common. So again, congratulations for that. I know everybody knows who you are, but I want to give you a little bit of an introduction here, and we're going to dive into Rennsport Reunion because this is a pretty cool deal. So allow me to do that, and we'll have a little chat here. Brian Redman is the co-originator of the Rennsport Reunion, the celebration of Porsche Motorsports past, present, and future. Brian participated in 358 races in his professional career. He hailed from Great Britain and was victorious outright or in his class in 94 of those races. He finished in the top three 177 times. His tally of classic long-distance victories included the Targa Florio, Daytona 24 hours 3 times, Sebring 12 hours twice, the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometer twice, and at the Spa 1,000 kilometer 4 times. He won 4 long-distance road racing team championships and 5 individual road racing championships. The list just goes on and on. He also raced Formula 1, Formula 5000, and today, Brian promotes and participates in historic race car events all over the world. We'll be back in just a moment, but first a word from our sponsors, so give them a little love. Buckle up. We're going for a ride with Brian Redman today. We'll be right back. Years ago, when it was time to renew my collector car insurance policy, my carrier's rates went up, way up, but my usage was the same and I never made a claim. I didn't even have a ticket. So what's with that? So I turned to American Collectors Insurance. Has your collector car insurance recently raised your rates for no good reason? Tired of paying an annual membership fee? Then it's time to look around and call American Collectors Insurance. I shopped around, I asked friends for recommendations, and found a winner that I can trust. And boy, I'm glad I did. I saved hundreds of dollars every year and slept better at night knowing my baby was properly insured. American Collectors Insurance have been protecting vehicles since 1976. They provided me with an agreed value insurance policy backed by their history of taking great care of their clients. What could be better than that? So give them a call and ask for a quote today. 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. And protect the ones you love like I did with American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. Did you know that Cars Yeah is in the top 1% of all podcasts based on listenership according to Libsyn, the premier RSS feed for podcasts in the United States? That's right. Plus, DuPont Registry recommended Cars Yeah is one of their top 10 car podcasts for you to enjoy. Cars Yeah has experienced tremendous growth, plus your ads are evergreen, meaning they never go away. And more listeners find Cars Yeah every day for their daily dose of automotive inspiration. Do you want to expose your brand to a highly targeted list of automotive enthusiasts in a very unique and very personal way? Well, I can help you. Contact me, Mark Green, at mark@carsyeah.com or through the website at carsyeah.com today to learn more. So, Brian, before we dive into Rennsport, I can't wait for that event. It's a few weeks away. I'm bringing my son down to Laguna Seca. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so much fun. But I want to touch on something else. You're a very busy man. You are involved in the upcoming Chattanooga Motorsports Festival. And I am gearing all the shows next week towards that event, but I want you to touch on your part of the participation, and that is the Brian Redman Targa 66. It takes place Friday, October 13th, and Saturday, October 14th in beautiful Chattanooga, Tennessee. Tell me a little bit about this event, because this is going to be a little different this year than wheel-to-wheel racing, right?
Yes. I mean, Targa 66 Club started in 1991. My professional racing career finished in 1989, driving for Aston Martin in England. So I was doing historic racing in America. I'd started that in 1983. And so we're at Summit Point, Virginia, and a racing friend, Don Marsh, came up to me and said, how are you doing, Brian? I said, well, things are a bit tough, and he said, why don't you start a club? I said, well, how will we do it? He said, and how much would you charge and how many events? He said, 2 or 3 events, a couple of $1,000 each. And he said, I tell you what, I'll guarantee you 10 members. And that's how it started.
Well, This is very cool. Well, at Chattanooga this year, tell our listeners and the lucky folks that are going to be there what they're going to be seeing.
Well, we're still getting entries in, but we've got some great cars. And of course, we've got Corky Coker's group of the very, very old cars, 1900, 1910, and that sort of thing. And also one of the best drifters in America is coming to go whistling around the track. I hope he succeeds. About 15 years ago at Elkhart Lake in July, Ford was a sponsor. So later on Sunday afternoon, I went down to the Ford stand, and there were 2 drifters. So the manager said to me, Mr. Redman, we'd like to go around with one of the drifters around the track. It's around about half the track, actually. And I said, well, which one's best? He said, well, this guy is the world champion.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I'll go with him. And David Hobbs got in the other car. So off we go. Well, on the first lap, halfway around the carousel, the left rear tire burst.
Oh, no.
So now, it's flailing around and hitting the body and everything, and we slow right down. We've still got a mile and a half to go to the pits, and David should have passed us. But anyway, we stopped, and then 5 minutes later, David and his driver arrived. David got out. I said, where have you been? He said, they've been dragging us out of a gravel trap.
Oh, my gosh. So much for drifting, huh?
Yes, and then, of course, they've got the Chattanooga 600 car auction, the rallies that's going on separately, and then the great Concours d'Elegance downtown on the Sunday with about 100 cars.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Chattanooga is a great fun place and a great place to be at that time of the year. And the whole idea of this event was Byron DeFore, who is a remarkable self-made businessman who builds hotels and builds and runs care homes. And he's a most remarkable enthusiast, I must say,
yes.
To attempt to put on events of this type.
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant. It's brilliant. So you listeners, next week, make sure you listen to all the shows here on Cars Yeah, because we're going to start the week off with somebody that Brian, by the name of Luigi Canetti. And I understand you have a kind of a funny story about Luigi.
Well, in 1974, Watkins Glen was a double-header. It was Formula 5000 and Can-Am. And of course, 74 was the last year of Can-Am, so there were the only 2 modern cars were the 2 Shadows, driven by Jackie Oliver and George Fulmer. All the other cars were pretty old cars. Anyway, Saturday afternoon, Luigi rushes up to me and says, Brian, would you like to drive the 712 in the heat race? I said, well, what's happened to Sam Posey? He said, no, he's not feeling very well. I said, well, they won't let me start in a race when I haven't practiced. He said, yes, I've cleared it with the organisers. You can start at the back. So anyway, I get in the car and there's like 5 minutes to go and a journalist rushed up to me. He said, Brian, what are you doing driving that thing? I said, well, Sam's not feeling very well. He said, do you know why he's not feeling very well? I said, no. He said he broke a bone in his foot when the brakes failed yesterday. And
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Ouch. Wow.
So I called Luigi over and I said, Luigi, what's this about the brakes failing? Ah, yes, Brian, didn't I tell you? I said, no, you did not.
No.
Well, we had experimental brake fluid and now we've got the right stuff. So anyway, I finished second to George Fulmer. And so the next day in the main race, before the race, my chief mechanic for Chaparral, Franz Weiss, came over. He said, Ryan, you shouldn't be driving that thing. So anyway, off we go. I'm lying second to George. It was the fastest car on the longest straight, with no chicane.
Yeah.
At about 170 miles an hour. I was halfway down the back straight and the rear suspension broke.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
Well, be careful what you jump into, right? When you haven't done a lot of research.
Of course, when we negotiated about a fee, Luigi said, right, now, how much would you like? I said, $2,000, please, Luigi. Oh, he said, terribly sorry, old chap, can't manage that. But we can manage 1,000. I said, okay.
Well, yeah, he put you in a defaulty car and undercut your costs. Wow, thanks a lot. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, let's get into Rennsport because I had a wonderful talk with one of my guests this week, and he was on the show yesterday by the name of Patrick Long, another fellow racer, a little bit younger than you and I, but he certainly has gotten around many tracks. And he mentioned the fact, and I didn't know this, I knew about Bob Carlson dreaming up the concept for Rennsport, that you were involved as well as a co-dreamer, I'm going to call you. So how did Rennsport, the beginnings of this wonderful event that's been going on for, I think it's 20 years now, how did you guys dream this whole thing up?
Yeah, it must be 22, wasn't it? Because the first actual Rennsport was 2001.
There you go.
Well, in February of 1960, I can't remember the date, Bob called me and he said, Brian, we've got 5 cars coming from the Porsche Museum in Stuttgart, and would you test them at Sebring and write a report for Road and Track? And these cars are going to Michigan, and they're going to Laguna Seca, all that sort of thing. So I said yes. It was 1998, so I said yes. So I did it, and then I thought, well, I wonder if they'd send those cars to Watkins Glen. So I rang Bob. I said, there's 5 cars that are at Laguna Seca in August. He said, yeah. I said, would you send them to Watkins Glen? And I'll put on an all-Porsche race. And that's what happened. And we had a great weekend, and the weather was perfect, and we had a big turnout. And so about a month later, Bob rang and he said, how about doing another one at Lime Rock in 2001, and we'll call it Rennsport 1. And so that's how it started.
Wow. Well, you guys, you better be careful what you start there, Brian, because this thing has turned into a beast. It is so much fun. I was at the last one at Laguna Seca, and I had so much fun, and I couldn't wait for it to happen again. And the fact that it's coming back to Laguna Seca. Now, of course, we were all just there during Car Week, watching all the wonderful vintage racing cars go around. But this show is all about Porsche. And I wanted you to touch a little bit before we dive into some of the events that we're going to get to see. Your relationship with Porsche and racing Porsche cars goes way, way back. Can you go back and tell us or share with us where it all began with you and Porsche?
Yeah, well, I started racing in 1959, but only sort of got up the ladder a bit in 67 when a gentleman said to me, Brian, would you like to turn professional? I said, what does that mean? He said, it means 30 quid a week, £30, probably about $60 at that time. Guaranteed for a year with a car and a mechanic.
Wow.
So I was into Formula 2, and towards the end of the October, David Piper, a well-known British entrant, asked if I'd like to drive his 250LM Ferrari with Richard Atwood at the Paris 1000 Ks in Bonnery. And we did okay. It was a terrible wet race. And we won our class, and I think we were 5th or 6th overall. But after the race, a tall, rather distinguished-looking gentleman came up, and he said, Mr. Redman, I'm David York, the team manager for John Wire Automotive Engineering, would you like to drive with Jackie Hicks at the Kyle Army 9-hour race in November, about a month away? And so we won the race, and that's what started it. And so suddenly, at the beginning of 1968, I'm the flavor of the month. And so I drive for Cooper in Formula One. At my second race, the Spanish Grand Prix at Jarama, I finished third. And the next race, and in the meantime, Hicks and I won the Brands Hatch 6 hours and the Spa 1000 Ks after winning Kyle Army. So everything's looking pretty good. I got an invitation from Ferrari, and that's another story. And so anyway, we go to the second Formula One, my second Formula One at Spa-Francorchamps, and on the seventh lap, the suspension broke. I had an enormous accident, and it nearly took my right arm off. And when the head of surgery at the University of Liège Teaching Hospital, Professor Ferdinand Orban, said, Monsieur Redman, it may not be possible to save the arm.
Oh, my gosh.
I smiled. I said, thank you, Professor. He said, why are you smiling? I said, because I'm here.
Yes.
So then I was out, for 6 months or so. And I'd gone to South Africa to run the South African series with a Derek Bennett Chevron. And I got a call from Rico Steinemann, the team manager for Porsche. And he said, Brian, would you like to join Porsche? We have 5 cars and 10 drivers. And the first race is Daytona, 24 hours in February. And so my arm had been hurting a bit. It wasn't really terrible, but it wasn't great. And so for the 5th race, we're going back through Johannesburg to the next race. And I called Alex Blichnout, the organizer of the Grand Prix and of the 9-hour race. I said, Alex, do you know any good bone men, in Johannesburg? He said, yes, Brian. And he said, I know the Christian Barnard of the bone world.
Wow.
Well, Christian Barnard was a heart transplant specialist. So I go to see, in England and Africa, they don't call surgeons doctors, they call them mister. So I go to see the surgeon, and he takes, instead of the one x-ray that they'd taken in England, he took 20 x-rays. And then he said, it's a Friday afternoon, he said, sit down, Brian Brent. You've got 2 problems. What? He said, you don't have any union of either bone in the forearm. I said, what? I said, what's the second? He said, I'm going on vacation tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh.
So anyway, this is 6 weeks before Daytona. And I said to him, I have to be at Daytona in 6 weeks. And he said, I'll try an experiment that may work and it may not. And the next morning, he opened my arm up to a wrist trial, cleaned off the broken ends that weren't healing, took bone out of my hip and glued it into my arm.
Oh, my gosh.
And he said, don't use it until you have to.
Yeah.
And it was in a sling, and I got to Daytona, took the sling off, didn't say anything to anybody, and I actually put our car on pole position. And then I was driving with Vic Elford, and that, was the whole effort of Porsche in 1969. It was the first time that they had a chance to win the manufacturers' championship.
Wow.
And so I thought I didn't really fancy doing 24 hours with Vic, with my arm. But anyway, about 8 in the evening, the first of the 908s came in the pits, the engine misfiring. The engineers examined it and said, we are all finished. They will all break. And we were out by midnight. Wow. Then when they sent Joseph and myself to Sebring to do a 24-hour test, the 12-hour race. Well, 20 hours, the chassis broke. And the engineer said, this is good. The race is only 12 hours.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
Well, guess what happened in the race? They all broke the chassis.
Yeah.
One was repaired, and that was the Steve McQueen and Peter Evson called it their second.
Wow. Holy cow. Well, what a start. And you spent so much time racing for Porsche. You've driven so many different race cars for Porsche over the years. So it's got to make you smile to attend another Rennsport reunion and see the magnificent history that you lived at this event. And they're going to have so many cool things, but I know that they're going to have vintage racing. So are there some Porsches that are near and dear to your heart that you're going to see out on the track there on this newly paved track? I hear it was very fast. The IndyCars set some new time lap records last week on Laguna Seca, that nice smooth track. Are there a couple old special cars? I mean, there's going to be a lot of cars, but a couple that will stand out for you?
Well, I don't, son James has been running this event, Rennsport. He started that with me in 1998 following the Watkins Glen 50/50, so he was involved really running those events, and so he knows more about what's coming than I do.
Well, we're going to have to get him on the show then, I think. I've not had him be a guest on the show, but I have a guest. Maybe you can introduce me to that fine boy of yours, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. We'll have some fun. Well, there's a lot of things going on, and I've been talking about this this week, and we've already talked about a lot of these different cars that are going to be coming and different events that are going to be coming, but this whole thing has become a 4-day Porsche extravaganza, if you will. And I'm wondering, with thinking back to the last Rennsport Reunion, are there a couple things that happened at that event that really made you smile? I mean, I know there's a lot, but maybe just a few you can touch on.
Well, I probably shouldn't say this, but no, I'm not going to.
Uh-oh, I almost got a scoop there. I almost, but yeah, Frank would be very upset with us if we gave anything away. But he did say they're going to be unveiling a new Porsche car there, which is kind of cool. They're going to have
yes.
some new cars. So I know that's maybe where you're going to go, but I don't want you getting any trouble.
No, it was just a personal discussion with another Porsche person. Which I thought was funny, but I don't think anybody else would.
Well, no worries, no worries.
Yeah, I mean, driving the Collier Museum 9083 there to at least two of the Rennsports, I think, and also the 917 PA. That was Joe Siffert's Can-Am car in 1969. Of course, at that time, it only had 4.7 litres, so about maybe 550 horsepower, competing against the 800 horsepower McLarens and Lolas. So I've driven that there, and 1 year, of course, at that time, Steve Earle would place you on the grid, not by your time, but how he thought it would look nice. So I'm on the grid, and ahead of me is Gijs van Lennep, a winner from Porsche for Le Mans.
Yes.
Next to him is Derek Bell, MBE.
Wow.
And I'm behind Gijs, and next to me is another gentleman in 917, who I'm not going to mention. We rushed down into turn one, and I know what's going to happen. This car comes towards me. It was like Laguna Seca this last weekend with the Indy cars, and we hit on the first corner of the first lap.
Oh, anyway. Gosh.
Yeah, so the thing is that although the racing in general is fairly well behaved, you find that in any race there's always about half a dozen guys who really want to win.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and when there's legends like you out there on the track, I mean, these guys that were not professional racers want to be able to say, guess who I beat today? So that might be part of the, the red mist that happens, right?
Yes, I mean, that's one of the reasons I don't really like to race these days much, because, whilst my mind wants me to do this, and I spent all my life trying to win races.
Yeah.
And to go now and just drive around, because that's all I'm doing, is no fun, really. So I prefer not to do it.
I understand, very much so. Well, there's going to be so many wonderful people there. You mentioned people like Jackie Hicks, Hurley Haywood, Patrick Long. I mean, so many great people. And, the other fun thing is they're going to have things for families, too. They're going to have a movie night with the Transformers, which features the 911. They're going to have a concert like they did last time. Now, nobody would tell me who's going to play, so I think that's being kept close to the vest as well. But no doubt they're going to pull in some pretty famous people up there. That made that week so much fun to be able to spend a day at the track and then stay and party with, the likes of the Porsche family were there. I mean, it's an incredible event. So I just want to say thank you to you and Bob for coming up with this idea. When you did this originally, did you ever dream that 22 years later, we'd still be doing this?
No. And of course, the last time we did it was Daytona 2007. And as you may know, Bob at that time was suffering from cancer, which he was going to die from. And so I think he really put a huge effort into it. And I think we had more 917s there than ever been in one place, except when they were introduced to the FIA in March of 69, when they had 25. But we had 17 917s.
Wow. Yeah, I was there. It was insane. I mean, I think only to be rivaled by the 1 year that Ferrari was the featured marque at the Rolex Motorsport Reunion, and there were all those GTOs out on the track together. I think there were over 20 of them.
Yes.
That was mind-blowing. So they also have a tractor race. Are we going to see you on a tractor by any chance, Brian?
Yeah, maybe. I raced one for Bill Scott at Summit Point at one of our events.
Okay. Well, we'll watch for you. I remember when Derek's son Justin raced at the last one, it was on the Pink Pig tractor, and I think he was wearing pink overalls, if I remember right. You guys all have a lot of fun with this. You know, another name I'd be remiss to not mention here is Alvin Springer, who, along with Patrick Long, is the co-grand marshal. No doubt you know about Alvin, right?
Alvin is a remarkable guy. As you know, I first met him in the early 70s when he was a mechanic for Vasek Polak.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of the very few people in the world that can build a 917 engine. And he's a brilliant mechanic, and he's had an amazing life. He fully deserves this honor of being a co-grand marshal.
Yeah.
In 73, Vasek Polak was running Jody Scheckter in Can-Am in a 917-10 turbo car, 1,000 horsepower. So Vasek rings me and says, Brian, I have never 917-10. You come test at Willow Spring, and we race at Laguna Seca and Riverside. So I go, and I test Jody's car, and then I drive my car. And Vasek say, is good? What is? I said, Jody's car is more solid on the road, but mine's okay. So off we go. The engine went at Laguna. Let's go to Riverside. Well, the main straight has got that slight curve to the left before turn 9. And that's really quick there. 917-10's doing about 200 miles an hour.
Jeez.
And on Friday practice, the car gives a bit of a lurch, in the middle of the corner. So into the pit, it's broken the right rear suspension support tube. So the next day out I go again, Saturday. I finished second to Donahue in the 917-30.
Oh.
And then in the same corner, at the same speed, something breaks again.
Oh,
this time it's another support tube, not the same one. So I didn't sleep Saturday night. I thought, so Vasek, I say Sunday morning, I say, Vasek, I don't think the car's safe. I don't think so. He said, Brian, I understand, but Guy work all night, car is perfect. So I said, okay, I'll race. so I'm lying second to Donahue, and something really let go, more than a support tube. And I nearly hit the outside of turn 9, but anyway, came in. What's the matter? And we lift the back up. And for the first time, I noticed that the right rear suspension, bottom wishbone, it should have had parallel links, 2 supports.
Ah.
And it only had one. It had the original 917 wishbone with a single mounting. They had broken the mounting.
Oh, gosh.
And I said to Vasek, but Vasek 917-10 have parallel link here. He said, yes. He said, this is Siffert car from 1969.
Oh, my God.
I said, what? I said, you mean you've converted all the bodywork and put a 1,000 horsepower turbo engine in? Yes. Well, Alwyn, of course, did all this.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
wow.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Fantastic business success as well.
Oh, yeah. Of course, everything he's done. I tell you, I was at Bruce Canepa shop once, and there was a 917 engine being built there. And I asked him, I said, Bruce, where do you find people that can build this engine? And he said, well, we've got a guy here who can do it. But he goes, I wish I had Alvin's phone number. And I said, Alvin? He goes, yeah, Alvin Springer. He knows how to do it. So there you go. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, this is going to be a spectacular event, and I can't thank you enough for taking a little bit of time out of your honeymoon, number 61, to spend with me. That's quite special. I can't wait to see you there. Of course, Chattanooga as well is going to be great. Before I let you go today, Brian, could you maybe leave us with some words of inspiration from a racer that has been there and done that?
Well, I mean, my life was changed completely by becoming a racing driver, and even though the accidents, 3 big ones that nearly saw me off. And so I guess, never give up is probably the philosophy. But I hope everybody will come to Rennsport and to Chattanooga Motor Car Festival, and they'll both be great weekends.
Oh, they're going to be spectacular. And of course, being a Brit, never give up, from that great man, Winston Churchill, and the great short speech that he gave, never ever give up. I think I've heard that from every race car driver that's been on the show, and there's been hundreds of them. Listeners, this is going to be Rennsport Reunion 7, September 28th through the October 1st at beautiful Laguna Seca Raceway. You can buy your tickets and learn more at PorscheRennsportReunion.com. I hope to see you there with Brian and I, all my guests this week, and all the other incredible Porsche people that are going to be there. Brian, thanks again for coming in off the beach, spending a little time with me today. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you at the Porsche Rennsport Reunion 7.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I look forward to it.
Always a delight.
Thank you very much.
Here at Cars Yeah, it's all about inspiration. And our charity of choice is Tech Force Foundation, where it's all about making a positive difference in young people's lives. Tech Force helps young adults discover their talents and passions for all things automotive, with a mission of helping students develop a career as a professional technician. Tech Force awards nearly $2 million in scholarships every year for students to pursue technical education, and they support hands-on activities, events, and mentorships across the country, working to change the outdated perceptions of these careers. Auto techs are in high demand, but the supply of qualified technicians is critically short. They need your help to fuel their mission. Learn more and join me in supporting them at techforce.org. For several years now, you've heard me talk about Linkage Magazine. I've been a subscriber since the start. Their talented and creative team brings you a spectacular publication and website that shares the automotive passion from a worldwide perspective. Linkage is about driving, restoring, collecting, and first-hand experience at collector car auctions and more. They bring you real-world values plus rational, experienced opinions on the current markets. They cover the automotive world and the people who share our passions. And Linkage Magazine has grown, mailing you 6 issues annually. Join me on this journey with Linkage. They're geared for the automotive life. You can subscribe at linkagemag.com.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.